welcome to Star Wars Spelt Out. This is your host, Josh Chapman, speaking. And today we're on the Skypes. We're in the home office, and we're on the Skypes. And we've got something a little bit different today, because this is the first time that we've ever had a listener come in and just say, hey, I want to be on your podcast. Can I be on your podcast? And I was like, of course you can be on my podcast, because I need people to be on my podcast. And I'm normally hassling friends and family, and it's always nice when someone goes, you know, you only have to ask people. It's not that hard. So live from Kentucky, it's the Beast. Release the Beast. It's TreverBeast. Hey, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Josh. Thank you for having me on here. Yep, I'm in Louisville, Kentucky, in the United States, as I'm sure the vast majority of your listeners are in Australia.
Well, yeah, we've got a little bit of a spread, you know, vast majority. Let's not go too crazy, but okay. Yeah, we've got a few Australians and we've got a few Brits and a few Americans and things. And Trevor was just showing me where Kentucky is, because I stupidly got it completely wrong. I thought it was down the bottom of the country, and it's actually really close to Chicago by the looks of things. Oh, it's in that bit, isn't it? Really close. America's very big.
Yeah, it's not too far. So yeah, you got Indiana, the state of Indiana, in between Kentucky and Chicago, and it should be about 5-hour drive from where I'm going. And yes, I am going to Star Wars Celebration.
Well, there you go. That was the next question. Yeah. That was the next one. 5-hour drive. That's all right. I've got to do what have I got to do? I've got to do a 15-hour flight to Los Angeles, and then I've got to change planes, and I've got to do another 4 hours, I think it is, from Los Angeles to Chicago. So it's a bit more of a mission to get there. So I take a 5-hour drive any day of the week. Are you going up alone, or are you taking a car with some friends, or don't know yet?
Well, I wish I was going with some friends, but I'll basically be going by myself. Well, for the most part, just going by myself. And well, I only got tickets for me, but for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I'm sure I'll meet a bunch of other podcast people, other people I follow on Twitter and stuff. So yeah, it should be an amazing time.
Have you been to one before?
Actually, no, I haven't. I've only heard about Star Wars Celebration 2 years ago, because there wasn't one last year, but about Celebration Orlando, watched a lot of the live stream, some different panels and stuff, but yeah, I hadn't even known about it previously.
So what's your number one thing? If you could go to, what's the thing that you want to see more than anything when you go?
It actually is the Clone Wars Season 7 panel. I know you're probably thinking Episode 9 panel. I mean, that's the big one, but I'd actually rather go to the Clone Wars panel and the Mandalorian than Episode 9. So that's the plan as of right now.
That's where you'll be putting your sleeping bag out in that
Yep.
in front of there. Mm-hmm. Did you ever think that it would come back, Clone Wars, or did you think it was sort of done, or did you always have hope?
Well, yeah. See, that was the thing, is whenever Disney bought out Lucasfilm and canceled the Clone Wars, I thought that was like such a huge mistake. I was devastated, because I was loving the Clone Wars, from season 1 onwards, and once they found out that it was canceled, I was like, oh my gosh, that sucks. Like, why would you do this? Like, and yeah, they released Rebels, which I appreciate Rebels overall. I just wish they would have finished the storyline of the Clone Wars and then moved on. But hearing that news, this past summer of 2018, whenever, at the San Diego Comic-Con, they just out of the blue, announced that Clone Wars is returning, I was losing my mind.
You're jumping up and down the couch, were you? And yeah, it's do you think that they planned that all along, or do you think it was just the fan demand brought it back, or do you think it's something they went, we'll cancel it and then we'll bring it back later? Or
well, I think it was more of bring it back later. I know there was definitely some. I'm no expert, but definitely think there was some issues with like Warner Brothers and stuff, and like Cartoon Network, like with the rights of it, of like just immediately transferring to Disney XD. I feel like they could have worked something out better, but I mean, we're getting it now. At least 12 more episodes, so I'll take what I can get.
So is there stuff in that you want to see particularly? Is it sort of like you want, I mean, they've already teased like Ahsoka's coming, Ahsoka's coming back into the story, which I think will be strange because they tied a bow on her, didn't they really? And kind of moved her out of the, because the whole thing was she's not in episode 3. So how do you get her out of the picture? And they kind of found a pretty reasonable way to explain why she wouldn't be involved. So they've kind of got to bring her in and then push her back out again, don't they?
Yeah, in a way, I've read the Ahsoka novel as well, and that takes place like a year after the events of Revenge of the Sith and stuff, and that kind of ties back with what they had in mind for her after, spoiler alert, she left Jedi.
You can spoil, it's okay.
Yeah, I know. I know. Okay, but yeah, she left. Jedi Temple, started walking off. Season 5 finale, fantastic moment, but they actually had plans for her to, basically live towards the underworld on Coruscant for a few months. She like got a love interest of sorts. Like I've seen some concept arts and different stories of what they were originally trying to do, and then eventually she would, go to Mandalore or something and help out the Jedi one last time, even though she's no longer a member, and then half the 501st Legion would go with them to Mandalore to help out Bo-Katan and the rest of them with Darth Maul and his form of the Death Watch and his other criminal mercenaries or his criminal gang. So that's what I think they're.
Do you think that's where they're going?
Yeah.
We're not going to see Ahsoka's boyfriend or girlfriend?
No. Well, I think, it would be boyfriend. Yeah, it would be Nix. Nix is his name. I've seen like one concept art of like her fighting a bunch of these guys, and then he's just standing there all impressed, like what's going on. Like I know they released like one clip of that. I don't think we're getting it. We're only getting 12 episodes, so I only think 4 of them is going to articulate the Siege of Mandalore with Darth Maul, Bo-Katan, Ahsoka Tano, and Captain Rex, and everything that happens there. And I think that's when the events of Order 66 is going to happen, is right there on that planet.
Oh, you think they'll touch over that as well?
Yeah. In fact,
right. So you think Revenge of the Sith will be happening in the background of some of the episodes?
Well, yes. And another thing is it's not just concept art as well, but there's also, it briefly touches on that in the Ahsoka novel itself. It's like a flashback of her fighting Darth Maul on Mandalore just for a little bit. Like it only covers like, I don't know, a few different pages in the book itself, but like that part is canon as well. So
you're getting me more excited about it now.
Yeah.
So is that the first thing that Ahsoka does is when she leaves the Jedi Order, she's like, oh, well, I can go get a boyfriend now. I don't have those Jedis giving me a hard time, telling me who I can't date. I've been looking at boys all this time and can't do anything. So, although Anakin probably, do you think did she know about Padme and Anakin, Ahsoka?
Well, she kind of articulated it in the final scene where Anakin says, I know what it's like wanting to leave the Order. And then her last line is, I know, and then walks. So that's basically implying that she kind of knew that
what was going on.
Anakin and Padme, were, had something going on.
they certainly had something going on. They certainly had something going on. Cool. Well, Clone Wars and then Mandalorian just seems to be getting closer and closer, doesn't it? So you think they'll premiere Mandalorian at Celebration? You think we'll get to see an episode?
I hope so, but
only?
I think it's more likely that we'll just see the trailer, maybe the first episode if we're lucky. But I'm fine with just a panel, having all the cast and Jon Favreau as well as some of the various directors for individual episodes, and just having each actor take about their character and stuff, and then show us a trailer. I'm fine with that.
You don't need to see it all in one hit. You're like, just give me the little bits. Just give me enough to get me going. Yeah, well, that's exciting. I mean, the TV thing is just a whole new concept, isn't it? The whole idea of having live action Star Wars TV that, you could, on that scale. I mean, I think it'll still feel big. It'll feel Star Wars big, but it'll, there'll be lots of it. It's kind of like you have your Marvel movies and then you get like Daredevil where you can do, 12 hours of Daredevil. You can just sort of soak it in at a slower pace. I don't know. Do you do Marvel stuff as well, or?
Well, yeah, I watched the Marvel movie. Definitely not as well traversed in it as I am with Star Wars. But yeah, I mean, I still really like these Marvel movies, and I mean, especially Infinity War
Hmm.
that happened recently. Yeah, I can't praise that movie enough. Like that was amazing
It's a good
what they
time.
did.
Yeah. Well, it can go in, it can have its fun, it can come out and get out
Mhm.
of the way, and then start. We can worry about Star Wars. At least
Mhm.
it's the middle of the year. We're not going to worry about putting Solo 2 weeks after Infinity, after whatever they did last time, where they kind of got that all kind of mucked up and stuff. But so I haven't asked actually, how did you come across the podcast?
Well, it's pretty simple. You follow me back on Twitter, and I was saying, okay, I need to be making some podcast appearances, and I'm like, let me start with some pretty, okay, I guess pretty small
Yeah, no, yeah,
podcast.
you can say small. It's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Pretty small podcast that follow me back on Twitter, and you were one of them. And then I checked out your episodes and interviews and stuff, and I'm like, okay, this is some good stuff.
This feels like a
Let
level
me
that I
try.
could, I could get
Yeah.
in on.
Yeah.
This feels
Exactly.
like we don't gatekeep here. We welcome
Hmm.
we welcome everyone. So I think you're the first guest. Yeah, you're definitely the first guest I've had that we haven't that I didn't know super well. Obviously, we've interacted on Twitter and things, but I was always just looking for more people to come on the podcast because I get randoms, I get friends and family and other people, and you get I've had sort of bigger podcasters like your Steel Saunders on and stuff, but then it's just anybody who wants to come on can come on. One day maybe we'll be huge and we won't have time for little for people who are just looking to get onto stuff, and it'll all change. But no, you've done pretty well. So, how are you feeling about Star Wars at the moment, Trevor? Where your excitement levels high? You happy with the way things are
Well,
going, or you
well,
give me a bit of a shake of the head here?
yeah. It's generally speaking. So, yeah. As I said, I am very excited for Clone Wars season 7 coming back, and I'm very excited for the Mandalorian. Both those two things, like my excitement level is where it needs to be, if not more. And then episode 9, I'm generally excited. We still haven't gotten a title yet. I know that goes without saying and
Did you
stuff,
think
but
there'd be one last week? Did you? There was a lot of talk that it was going to come out last week, and nothing happened. Were you sort of
yeah.
in the camp that was convinced it was going to happen? You're like, nah, we're not going to see anything.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I thought we'd get it like late January because that's when the Last Jedi was revealed. Was like January 22nd of 2017, and then the Force Awakens was even earlier, back in like November the year before. So like a whole
Mm.
full 13 months before, but still no word back on episode 9. But I guess
They're really sitting it, aren't they? They're really sort
Mhm.
of. I mean, I think they're still filming, so maybe they're waiting until they finish filming. But
Mhm.
yeah, I'm a bit surprised. I kind of thought we'd
Mhm.
have it by now, but yeah, I guess they'll tell us when they're ready.
Okay. And then reiterate my point of how I feel about Star Wars. And this, this is the negative aspect. Whereas Clone Wars and Mandalorian positive, this is the negative one, and that would be Resistance. As of right now, I've been generally displeased with it. There have been a few good episodes that I can say, but for the most part, it just feels way too childish, and that there's way that the stakes are incredibly low. And
Yep.
and I'd also say, and this might be a controversial opinion, but I don't think the leadership of Lucasfilm is really as good as it needs to be, especially with public relations, like dealing with the fans and stuff. I feel like they're not being as courteous and stuff as they should. And I guess we can talk about that later, but yeah,
No,
that's all
no.
I'll say.
I'm curious to see the opinion because I work for a big organization in Australia. It's nothing to do with entertainment, but they are a very big organization, and they have a lot of public opinion about them. I work for a bank. So in Australia, we have four big banks we only have four banks in Australia, or big banks, and they basically control or have the market share of probably 80% of the banking business in Australia. So the reputation isn't great at the moment. So it's sort of like how you manage the relationship with the customers and the things that you can and you can't do. So everyone's sort of got an opinion. So when you look at like another big company like Lucasfilm or Disney, how you deal with dissatisfied customers, I suppose, or because it's kind of weird because I guess Disney they can interact at a very personable level, person to person, and then they also work on a very high level where it's things like press releases and things where it's very blanket coverage, and then they've got a very low thing as well. So is it, when you sort of talk about the interaction with the fans, do you think it's not personal enough, or do you feel that when they do interact, they're not considering everybody enough, or are they dismissive of people who don't agree with them? Is that more that kind of thing?
Yeah, I'd say I'm under the impression that they're not treating the fans right who have legitimate criticisms. Like, I don't know, I feel like Rian Johnson, is like calling, the term, calling the fans man babies that didn't like The Last Jedi, and, other people that are like saying, if you didn't like The Last Jedi, then it's because you're a racist or a sexist or something. And I think that that's pretty ridiculous, and I think the vast majority of Star Wars fans do not fit that criteria at all.
Oh no, I think they do, and I tend to go out to bat for that sort of thing, because I think that usually when they talk about the racist and the sexist stuff, I think they're referring to the racist and the sexist stuff that gets directed at them. I think they're going to go, well, if you act that way and we say that we call that out to you, then you deserve to be called that. If you don't, you shouldn't have anything to worry about. You can get on with your day. We're not talking about you. So because it's, you can wear a badge and say I'm a Star Wars fan, and if they're critical of certain areas and things, it's like no different than if you're like a sports fan. Like I would go to the soccer in England, and they have lots of issues in soccer with people chanting racist things or getting into fights and stuff like that. And they'll basically say, hey, we don't want these fans to behave this way. That doesn't mean all of you. That just means these ones, because we've got to look after the majority of the people who act a certain way. But when you're getting things that are coming down from an organization, it can sometimes seem cold. And the problem is that if you've got if you feel like you're taking something personally, you take it personally, whether it's directed at you or not. But I think Celebration will be a good cleanse. I think everybody will get in there and they'll feel the love. And would you be? You wouldn't be booing anybody at Celebration, though, would you?
I don't think so. No one in particular has merited a boo at this time.
And that would be very sad, I think, if people got booed at Celebration. I don't think it's going to come down to that. So Resistance, did you basically, so like obviously Clone Wars is your thing. Were you sort of hoping it would be more like that, or did you kind of think, judging from the trailers, I feel like this is going to be more little kids, but I'll give it a go?
Yeah, it was more the latter for me. I was not impressed at all with the first trailer for Resistance, and that's why it has, I don't know, like at least 100 times more dislikes than likes, it seems, on that video. So I don't know
stuff. Then the trailers that have come out, like the mid-season trailer, everybody loved. So it was that weird, that first, when you get older, Trevor, when you get bigger and you have kids, you'll be like, I'm very happy to have some Star Wars stuff I can give my little kids, and I can go over here and I can enjoy the stuff, because it's just when you don't have as much time, you've got to love the bits that you can get into. But do you think it'll mature more, or do you think it'll sit in this space tone-wise?
Okay, well, just talking about the state of Resistance, like in terms of my opinion, so like most of the episodes haven't really pleased me much, but I did really enjoy Station Theta Black, which was the mid-season finale with Poe and Kaz on this, and with this First Order facility that was abandoned, and then them trying to figure out some stuff. Like that was a solid episode. And then the next episode after it, the first one in 2019, Bebo, that one was one of the worst ones for me because.
So does it get more? Sorry, I was going to say, does it get more frustrating because it gets good and then it doesn't stay as good as it can be?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I won't elaborate on Bebo too much. Basically, the twist that Niku's pet is the child of the big monster that's wreaking havoc. Like that was the most obvious thing that I have seen in quite a while, and I just saw I just saw it coming like 6 or 7 minutes before any of the other characters did, and I'm like, okay, now I just need to wait for one character to connect the dots so I can just, do it. It was just really frustrating stuff. And then the next episode, Dangerous Business, that one was better than Bebo, but the main guy, well, I guess the villain of that episode, Tarajki, I just absolutely hated him. And Kaz was really stupid for thinking that, oh yeah, let me go make this delivery and leave the shop unoccupied except for BB-8. But like, I like BB-8, but he can't protect the store from this thug trying to steal a photon tool or whatever it's called.
You're spoiled. You're spoiled for cartoons, mate. If you were older like me and you were watching Transformers or He-Man in the '80s, people get nostalgic about that stuff. But those cartoons are rough. Those cartoons are rough. But do you think it'll? Yeah, do you think it'll always stay kid tone, or you think they'll get more serious?
Well, see, yeah, that's the thing. On a more positive, I can say, Bebo was not great, but Dangerous Business got better, and then since then, these last few episodes, like really dealing with Sonara and stuff, like they've gotten much better. I'm trying to like remember the names to them, but I mean that's okay. But First Order Occupation was the most recent one, and okay, I'm sorry, but
no, yeah, cool, man.
Okay,
I'm surprised you can remember them off the top of your head. That's really impressive.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we were talking about when we were talking on Twitter, and when I had Chris Fresh on, and you sort of chimed in and said you enjoyed the episode, and we touched on the Clone Wars movie. Now, did you? I did ask you. You saw the Clone Wars movie at the cinema, or did you see it on DVD? Do you remember?
No, I saw it in the cinema in August of 2008. It was the very first Star Wars movie that I have seen in theaters, and the original trilogy and the prequels were all specifically on DVD that I watched in my own home.
So how old were you when you saw it, if you don't mind me asking? If you don't want to give away
I was 10 years old when the Clone Wars movie came out, and I really enjoyed it, at least sitting there in the theater, with my family and stuff. Like, I enjoyed the hell out of that movie. And then as time went on, I'm like, okay, maybe it's not as good as I once thought it was, but I still have it ranked as my 10th favorite movie ahead of Attack of the Clones.
Oh, so what would 10-year-old Trev think of Resistance?
I mean, he'd probably enjoy Niku's humor a bit more than I do now, but I can still think that he would much prefer the Clone Wars over Resistance and Rebels over Resistance, for that matter.
So do you think that the series, the Clone Wars, makes the movie better?
Well, yes, but that's another interesting thing is I'm sure a lot of people were going in August of 2008 saying, okay, let's watch this animated Star Wars movie, and the TV show's gonna start later this year. I had no knowledge of that. I thought this was just a one movie and then that's it. I didn't know that there was a TV show until a few months later, after a couple of them had already aired on Cartoon Network, and I just found it like on the guide, and I'm like, holy crap, there's a Star Wars Clone Wars TV show. And then I started watching, and then that's when everything connected, and I'm like, okay, this is awesome. And then I tuned in every single week for each episode airing.
And now it's coming back.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you get to be 10-year-old Trev in the cinema again.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe at Celebration, if they do show one, you could the lights will go down, and it'll be you get to get your popcorn out, and away you go. Now, you've talked about you've got a quiz, or you've got some sort of thing you're going to put me through here to make me look like I expose my lack of Star Wars knowledge. Is that what is about to happen here?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
He's like, yes,
that's
I do.
right. Okay. Well, yeah, I should reiterate first, because I don't think we mentioned this, but yeah, I am the curator of the Star Wars subcategory on Sporkle.com, and Sporkle is a trivia quiz website where you can make any quiz topic imaginable. So I'm in charge of all the Star Wars ones, and I have just created the Star Wars quiz specifically for you, Josh.
Oh
So
no,
I
I'm gonna
can't
do
wait
so
to see
badly at this. This is gonna be so
how.
embarrassing.
Yeah, I know.
Oh dear.
So
I'm
okay,
not gonna
so
cheat. I'm not gonna look up on my computer or my phone. I'm gonna play this completely straight.
all right, that's great. That's what I would prefer. So the name of this quiz is called Star Wars Episode by Characters Mentioned in Crawl. So it's, can you pick the Star Wars episode by the list of characters who are mentioned in the opening crawl? So I'll
Okay.
say, in order. So if there's two characters, I'll say the first one and then I'll say the second, instead of like alphabetical or some other thing. And if it has no characters, good luck, because that's going to be the toughest one, is if
Okay.
there's no.
All right.
And yeah, I think that's about it. So
All
it's
right. Hit
all.
me.
All right. So your first one, which which movie features the characters Count Dooku and Senator Amidala
With
in the
Attack of the
opening crawl?
Clones.
All right, that is correct.
Yes.
Okay.
At least I got
So
one correct.
yep,
Yes.
exactly. So next one is Princess Leia, and that's it.
A New Hope.
You are correct.
Yes.
So next one would be Luke
These are getting harder,
Skywalker.
aren't they?
Yeah, next one would be Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader.
Empire Strikes Back.
That is correct. So yeah, I know.
This is good. I like this.
Yeah,
This is
exactly.
whew.
Okay, so your next one is Luke Skywalker and General Leia Organa.
Force Awakens.
That is correct.
Yes.
Okay, so your next one. Okay, this is the tough one. It's none.
Okay.
So,
None.
Yeah.
I think Phantom Menace.
That is correct.
Ah.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I can't believe I got that one.
No,
Oh my God.
you're 5 for 5. Got 3 more to go. So next one would be Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and Jabba the Hutt.
Return of the Jedi.
That is correct. Okay,
Yes.
next one, Supreme Leader Snoke, General Leia Organa, and Luke Skywalker.
The Last Jedi.
That is correct. So one left, Count Dooku, General Grievous, and Chancellor Palpatine.
Revenge of the Sith.
That is correct, and you just got 8 out of 8.
Oh, I can't believe it. I was so worried. I thought I was going to get all of those wrong. I think you're going to throw in Rogue One. Oh, it doesn't like it's going to be like a trick question, the movie with no crawl or a solo. Oh God, I can't believe I remembered all of that. That's quite clever. I've never heard that kind of that quiz before. So, how do people usually do? Can you track the answers and things, or is this a special one just for me?
Well, I mean, I just released this less than an hour ago, so not too many people have played it as of right now. It's gotten 6 plays, and the average score is 77%.
Take that, fools.
Yeah.
bow to your master. Wow, that's really cool. So how many quizzes are on there? How many do you usually produce?
Okay, well, in terms of my personal quizzes, I made about 350 of them.
Oh my God.
In terms of the Star Wars subcategory, there's 2,942. And then in terms of the whole site, there's about 800,000 quizzes.
So what's the process that you go through to make a quiz? Do you obviously start with the answers and work backwards, or do you try to keep them, like this one's crawl themed? Do you pick a subject or like a character, or do you pick a planet or a movie, or is it completely random?
Well, I mean, it's whatever topic you want to create. And there's different quiz types, like there's a classic one where you just name all of one thing, like, name, the countries of Asia or something like that. And then there's a clickable one, which is what was utilized for this quiz, where I had the different ones. You click on each one. And then, we also have, map quizzes, multiple choice, picture boxes, picture clicks, and slideshows. So yeah, those are the different quiz types. And then, whatever quiz, that you're wanting to make, and then you just need to check as well to make sure that, the same quiz hasn't already been made by someone else.
So what's the hardest Star Wars one that you've done personally? Have you done a really hardcore?
I'm okay. Just going off the top of my head, would like to say like a Star Wars video game quiz. Name the Star Wars video game based on a picture of it, because I do not know very much about video games. Like, I've kind of, proven that I know a lot about the Clone Wars and
Oh
some
yeah.
different stuff like that. But video games, I don't know very much about that. So, yeah,
That one's what that throws you. Well, if it's about,
yeah.
like, I know, like, the older stuff. So, like X-Wing, TIE Fighter on the PC, those really old ones, and like Super Star Wars on the Super Nintendo. That's how far back I go. The new stuff, not so much. I've got Battlefront. I've played the Battlefronts and stuff. Although I tried to play Battlefront 2 the other day for 8 because I hadn't played it in ages, and then my Xbox completely shut itself down. So I don't know. I'm hoping that was just. Hopefully my Xbox just didn't die, but I think Battlefront people are still playing it. I'm not too sure. About that one. Yeah. So you don't do too many games and stuff like that? Too busy doing quizzes?
Well, I play video games, but they're normally Nintendo, like Super Smash Bros, Mario Kart, and then those kind of things.
Taking your Switch to Celebration, they'd probably be quite handy to have. So are you going to do that? We'll get back onto Celebration actually.
Okay.
So are you prepared to do the lines and stuff, like line up for the things you really want to see, or you just sort of go in, breathe it all in? Like Clone Wars, you'll basically go, whatever it takes to get in there, I'll get in.
Yeah, that I don't have too much of a specific game plan. I don't really. I mean, given that I haven't been to a Star Wars Celebration before, I don't exactly know what to expect, but I will wait in whatever line possible to get into the Clone Wars and the Mandalorian, assuming those two aren't mutually exclusive. And then besides from that, just, go to whatever else and have a great time.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be... I haven't really... I mean, they've done smaller... I've been to smaller conventions and stuff here in Australia, not specifically Star Wars, but sort of comic conventions and things. But I have been to very big music festivals overseas, which is not quite the same, but when you sort of have a large mass of people and you're somewhere... over into the I don't know how well you know your music festivals. There's one in Britain called Glastonbury, which has about 150,000 people on a farm for about a week. And and so you're there for about a week and you're camping the whole time, and it's just this sort of little city. So I know it's a different thing, but the same rules apply. You got to hydrate and wear comfortable shoes and try to keep yourself clean, have a wash every now and then, and eat food and and don't burn yourself out too early. So I think that'll be the thing too, because I think I'll get caught up in the socializing a little bit too much as well. But it'll be exciting. Nonetheless, I'm just hoping that everyone just has a good time, really. And are you a merch guy? Will you buy a lot of merch?
I can't really say at the moment. If I come across, a really awesome looking T-shirt, then yeah, I'll probably get out the wallet for that. But I don't have, a plan in mind of spending, X amount of money on, merchandise.
Yeah,
we'll
so you're not
see.
going, look, I've got to get this. You're not going sort of like figures and stuff. I've got to get the exclusives or anything, all those kind of stuff. You're not too fussed.
Yeah, I don't have like a Star Wars, figure collection of sorts. Like I know a lot of people collect these, Black Series stuff, and I've, listened to your Chapman's cheapies. Sort of
of me trying to get something. Yeah, the saddest podcast in the world.
But I'm fine with not having any of those sort of figures. I do have. I'm looking at it right now. I have a huge Lego collection in my room. Of Legos that I've purchased. A lot of them Star Wars, a lot of them some other stuff, and I don't really think on expanding on it because it's not part of my childhood if I buy it now, sort of thing. And the other than that, the only other Star Wars collection I have is all these Star Wars movies and TV shows as well. I have every single movie and TV show from Clone Wars and Rebels like on Blu-ray and stuff. Wow. And I'm also including the Ewoks movies as well. Got the
count. You got to include them. They still count.
I mean, yeah, I could have a debate with you on whether the Ewok movies count as an official Star Wars movie because it doesn't start with a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and it wasn't, released in the United States as well. And I guess maybe I'm being a bit too U.S. centric with that statement, but there's room to debate the Ewok movies, but I think that the Clone Wars animated movie has more merit to being an official Star Wars movie, more so than Caravan of Courage and Battle for Endor. But that's strictly my opinion.
Oh, I think you're probably right. I don't even know if they're. I don't think they're canon anymore. Anyway, I think they've
exactly.
They've been quietly moved on.
Yeah, that's
just enjoy them in your free time.
Okay, I'm sorry. I've interrupted you every single
you're
time
good,
you
man.
said something. But yeah, that's another point as well, is that the Ewok movies are not canon, whereas the Clone Wars movie is.
Yeah. No, look, the Clone Wars movie has its merits, and like I said, it was the jumping off point to something that got better and better anyway. So they had a plan, and they kind of saw it through to the end. We were talking about when Chris was on last week about Ahsoka Tano was a character that people didn't particularly like that much at the start, and then became a really loved character. Probably arguably the most popular character out of that whole series, you'd say. I mean, Anakin and Obi-Wan were already kind of established, but would you say Ahsoka was probably the most popular Clone Wars character?
Absolutely. I mean, the only ones that I think would have a chance to contend with Ahsoka would be Captain Rex, Asajj Ventress, and then maybe Cad Bane.
What about Hondo?
Yeah. I'll throw in Hondo into the mix as well.
I just like Hondo because he just, for whatever reason, everybody gives him a second chance, and he just screws his mates over every chance he gets. And even though they know that they shouldn't. They're like, oh yeah, all right, we'll give him another chance. So, where'd you sit with the Solo movie? Did you enjoy that, or where does it sit with you?
Okay, I definitely find it an enjoyable film for sure. Like start to finish, it keeps my interest. There's definitely some good moments, like Chewbacca. Just everything that he does is a highlight. There's only two specific parts of Solo that I do not care for, and that would be how Han gets his last name with that Imperial officer. That was just
that seems to be a pretty common complaint.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that I think they couldn't have done it in a worse way. Is that random Imperial officer just Han Solo because he has no people or something? Did not work for me at all. I mean, if it worked for you, or for you, Star Wars Spelt Out listeners out there, I mean, yeah, that's fine. You can love it as much as you like.
I didn't. I thought it was a bit weird, especially when he talks about how he knows what his dad did for a living, but he doesn't know his dad's last name, which is a bit strange.
Exactly.
You're retaining that kind of information, or whether he's keeping it to himself, or whether, I don't know, when we did the commentary track with James, he's read all the books and things, and he was sort of saying that was his name. It was like a family name. There are a whole bunch of crazy Solo relatives and things everywhere, apparently. But yeah, that was a bit of a funny one. What was the second one? Darth Maul?
No, it was not Darth Maul. It was L337. She was completely annoying for me. I was never invested into her character of her droid revolution thing. In fact, when she got shot down right on Kessel, I was, I had
jumped
a sigh
out of
of
your chair
relief. Well, I didn't start cheering, but I was a sigh of relief saying, okay, thank you. Now I don't have to listen to her or any of her, spiels for the rest of the movie. Essentially.
So she does. I mean, she became part of the Falcon, but she can't talk anymore, though. Now, can she? So she's just got to tell them where to go and basically do the directing. So, do you think they're done? They won't do Solo movies now. Didn't do enough money. That's it. That's the end. We'll see of it, or maybe it'll come back. Clone Wars came back.
Yeah. I don't think that Solo has as much as a following as the Clone Wars did. And I know that, there's definitely some people on Twitter and, some other things, like praising Solo and saying, oh, yeah, we need this sequel. We have to have it. Please give us this. And I'm like, no, you can tell other stories. I'd rather see, like, Kenobi, a Star Wars story, than Solo 2. But that's just me. And that I think that if they want to expand the storyline of, Kira and Maul, it'd be more likely to happen, as another series, for the live action streaming service.
Well, now that they've got that sort of bow, haven't they? I mean, the thing about Clone Wars is with animation is that you can bring people back, years later and it's just the voice actors. It doesn't matter if they get a bit older, but you've got these actors. You can't wait 10 years to do Solo because Harrison Ford's 10 years older Solo. You've kind of got to do it now. You got to roll these movies out quite quickly, otherwise it looks a bit weird. It doesn't really work anymore. So, that's the advantage of the Clone Wars is they could come back again in 10 years time again, as long as everyone's still happy to do the voices and stuff.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. I didn't consider that as thing. So
that's always the trick. The trick with animation, you always got a little bit more leeway and things. Yeah, Solo, I'd like to see more, but I thought they did a good job. But it's certainly the box office performance threw a monkey wrench in their plans, I think. But I think it had come out at Christmas time while it normally does. I think it might have been a different story. I think it would have done a bit more cash. With Aquaman probably would have got out of the way. But I haven't even seen Aquaman yet, so I don't know. I'll get around to it. I was too busy having a baby to watch Aquaman. It could wait. It could wait. Right. So, Celebration coming up. Clone Wars is coming up. Mandalorian's coming up. What about this Cassian Andor series? Was Rogue One something that you felt like you needed to see more of, or?
Well, Rogue One I thought was spectacular. That's my third favorite Star Wars movie overall, behind Empire Strikes Back first, New Hope second. And in terms of the Cassian show, I definitely want K2SO, with Alan Tudyk, providing the voice, to be incorporated in the show. If K2SO's not in it, I'm not going to be as invested in the show. I mean, I'm still going to watch it. Like, I'm going to watch pretty much any Star Wars TV show for that matter. But if K2SO's in it, then you got me invested by a significant amount. And I'd say that, Cassian was not my favorite character in Rogue One. Yeah, I definitely like K2 more, and I also like Sherrod Imwe a lot more than Cassian, but he still has potential, for us to learn more about his backstory. I mean, of course, the line that's, getting said a lot is, I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old, even though I'd rather not see him as a 6-year-old. I'd rather see him, a few years prior, something like that. And like, the only thing we know about Cassian, is from watching Rogue One. And then there was also this one-issue comic of K2SO and Cassian meeting for the first time. And see, I don't know how they're going to work around that, because I think that they wrote that issue before they figured out, hey, we're going to make this Cassian TV show. Because now it's like, are you going to just redo this, comic series, but incorporate it into, like the first episode of the TV show or something? So yeah.
So how old is he? Because he doesn't look any different when he meets K2 in that comic, does he? It's not like he's way younger or anything. He's been around a long time. I think I have read that one. It was a while ago now. I can't remember exactly what happens, but
okay.
If you remember, enlighten me.
Okay. Well, basically, Cassian goes to this one planet with these two rebel spies as well, named Curtis and Rismore. They're both sisters, and they're purple skinned, and they don't even talk normally. They use different scents, like the different odors, and then to communicate, sort of thing, which I would say I'd like to see those two characters in the upcoming Cassian TV show. Like, if they can, because they were both in, this Cassian comic strip, so they should be incorporating that. Basically, they go about, some sort of, I don't know, spy mission, and then K2SO sort of, catches them, what they're doing, but then they try to find his off switch, and then only, erase some of his data each time, and some different stuff. Yeah, that's really all I can say about it at this point.
Well, I mean, at least what you're saying with Alan Tudyk, it's similar to the animation. He's just got to go into a booth and say some lines. He doesn't need to necessarily be on the set every day, working the droid or doing all that kind of stuff. He might go, well, look, I'll do the voice if you want me to, I can sit at home and do it down the phone or whatever I need to do. But maybe he want to be there every day and do it. But it's a kind of came out of nowhere, isn't it? Really, but like you said, the more Star Wars content, the better. We're basically all just happy to have more Star Wars that matters. So after Cassian Andor, where's the most likely TV series? Where do they go from there? I mean, are we talking Kenobi TV series? I'd rather have a TV series than a movie, but that's just me.
Man, I wish I would have had an answer prepared in terms of next TV show
No.
after Mandalorian, after Cassian. I'm blanking right now, and for that I apologize because I should have some good
No.
idea. I guess. Man, I'm
We
trying
can
to
follow.
think of.
We can always follow up later on. If you had the idea at the top of the head, you might have to get a job at Disney. They probably don't even know.
Yeah, well, I guess I'll say TV show with various bounty hunters from the Clone Wars or stuff. Cad Bane, as I mentioned before, Embo as well. Like, both those are just some incredible stuff. So if they can show a bounty hunter show, and maybe they're incorporating some of that with the Mandalorian as well, because we know IG-88 is going to be on there and stuff. So I don't know, but that's.
The thing about the Mandalorian that I keep forgetting is that it's set like right after Return of the Jedi, isn't it? So it's from timeline wise, it's right in that original trilogy. Because I kind of went IG-88. I'm like, does that make any sense? I'm like, oh yeah, it's literally like because Return of the Jedi is a year after Empire Strikes Back. I think I was discussed this the other day. What the timeline is, it's not that long. So of course all those guys are all still hanging around. It's not sort of Force Awakens 30 years down the track. You don't know who made it or not. So they could pull out anybody, couldn't they?
Yeah, exactly. And just one thing I'll say is I know it's probably not going to happen at all, but one character I'd like to see in The Mandalorian, not counting IG-88, is Black Kursatan, and I might be mispronouncing his name, but he's this other Wookiee. Yeah, he's a Wookiee bounty hunter that was in like the Dr. Aphra comics and stuff. I haven't read a lot of Dr. Aphra, but I've read enough to know about Black Kursatan and some different stuff. And like I think he'd fit in great with like IG-88 and whatever sort of Mandalorian related things are going on.
He's like the mean Chewbacca, isn't he? Basically,
yeah.
He's the Chewbacca with the chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, and he also has like a scar over his eye and stuff, and much darker fur. It's more, it's black more so than brown.
I always like Wookiees. So the more Wookiees, the better. We've already been going pretty long at this. So what we might do, we might wrap it up here soon. Okay. But thanks for coming on, being a guest, and just taking the time to get in touch. Really, like I'm just happy to have people on who like talking Star Wars. So definitely, hopefully, what we'll do is next time we record, we'll be at Celebration. So what we'll do is we'll be in a foyer somewhere or in a line, and I'll stick the microphone in your face. We'll be standing right there next to you. What I'll do is maybe I'll catch you after the Clone Wars panel, and you can be my Clone Wars panel reporter if I don't get in. How's that sound? You can tell me what happened. Yeah, if I have to queue up at overnight, I probably won't do that. But I can get you to report for me on the podcast.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I have no reason not to accept this offer.
I'll even buy you a beer for your trouble. What I might do is I'm trying to work out some merchandise for the podcast to take over. I'm not going to sell it. I'm basically going to just get bits that I can give to friends and people and things. So guests and new friends will get some. So I will try to make sure that I've got a little present to give you when you get there, and you can wear it, or you can put it in your bag, or you can throw it away somewhere. Don't throw it away, please, because you can put it out there. But if people want to catch you or follow you on social media, where do they find you at?
Okay, so there's two places to find me on social media. One would be my Twitter account, which is at TreverBeast454. It's TREVER Beast454, and there's a 90% chance that I'll follow you back on there. So those are pretty good odds.
I like those odds.
Yep. And then, the second place would be my Sporkle account itself. So that would be sporkle.com/user/TreverBeast454. You can find all my quizzes on there and a bunch of other fun stuff.
You better bring those quizzes to Celebration, because when we're all sitting in long lines, we're going to need something to do, something to keep us entertained. So we're going to have to bust out a couple of TreverBeast specials, I reckon, and go from there. All right, mate. Well, thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I got you. Thanks again.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
No worries, mate. We'll speak to you soon.
All right, then. Adios, and may the Force be with you.